China is accusing the US of trying to bully ByteDance into selling TikTok's US operations to an American company. Now, President Donald Trump has been putting pressure on the social media app to seal a deal within 45 days or risk being banned in the US from the middle of September. He had previously been opposed to a sale. China has defended TikTok, saying it will not accept what it's calling the theft of a Chinese technology company by Washington. Beijing also says it has plenty of ways to respond if the administration carries out what it calls a planned smash and grab. Now, for a closer look at Trump versus China, we're joined by James Crabtree, Associate Professor of Practice at Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy. Professor Crabtree, what, in your view, could happen next with TikTok's US operations? Do you actually see a deal with Microsoft going through, and perhaps under what conditions?
It looks pretty likely that a deal with Microsoft could happen. I mean, the risk with something like this is the deal could also fall apart. It looks like Microsoft wants to buy. It looks like ByteDance, the Chinese parent company, recognizes that it needs to sell. But with all of this geopolitical backdrop, it's quite difficult to work out what the company is actually worth. And so I think that's where a stumbling block could be. Is it worth 50 billion, 40 billion, 30 billion? Very hard to say. So I think both sides want to do a deal, but it certainly could all fall apart.
Some very big numbers there, James. What do you think China could or would do? Could it be persuaded or enticed to allow the sale of TikTok's US operations to an American company?
I don't think China can block this. I don't think it would want to block this. In the end, if ByteDance has decided that the geopolitical situation has got so bad that it has to sell its American operation, I don't think China's going to stand in its way. China could retaliate and put extra controls on American companies, but all of the American technology companies that matter already don't operate in China. So it's not exactly clear what China could do in response. But I think you've got to remember what this story is really about. I mean, it's partly about the geopolitical tensions between the US and China and the way they're affecting the technology sector, but it's also about election year politics. This has been a good issue for Donald Trump because it's a way of signaling that he's tough on China. And so TikTok, in a sense, has become a political football in the run-up to November.
Right, as you mentioned, they're becoming a political football, a centerpiece. Do you see perhaps maybe a third party coming in to ease the situation, perhaps?
It's always possible that somebody else could try and purchase this company. It's more difficult to see one of the other big technology companies doing it. There has been talk of a management buyout with some private equity houses. So it's hard to say. I mean, they've given it a 45-day timescale, so somebody else could come in. But at the moment, it looks like Microsoft is the most likely buyer.
And if you can give us some context, is there actually a case against TikTok based on privacy and security concerns?
Yeah, that's a great question. So at the one level, it seems a bit ridiculous that this company is being accused of being a threat to national security because it's a company where teenagers make funny videos. There are two cases against it, one of which is that data on American citizens ends up back in China, where it could be used for nefarious purposes, potentially for blackmail used by the Ministry of State Security. The other worry is that TikTok could end up being politicized so that, like the Russians, interfere with American social media, so the Chinese could use TikTok in the election. I think there may be a sliver of truth in both of those allegations, but I think it's undeniable that it has been inflated for political reasons, and that if it weren't for the geopolitical tensions between the US and China, it's very unlikely that TikTok would be in the firing line in the way that it is now.
Well, you know, TikTok is not the first to be caught in this crossfire between the US and China. What are the implications of this latest saga, and how will it affect future relations?
Well, I think the implications are really quite profound. So it means that if TikTok is a threat to national security, it really means that almost any China-linked technology company is going to be viewed as a threat to national security. So we've already had Huawei. I think there'll be a lot of people looking at cloud technology, drone makers. It's going to mean many fewer links between Silicon Valley and the Chinese tech sector, many fewer Chinese entrepreneurs going to America. In a sense, this is what, when people talk about bifurcation or the division of China and America into two separate technological spheres, this is what it begins to look like. So I think in that sense, TikTok is a harbinger of the future of the technological world, where the Chinese and American ecosystems are going to separate.
And James Crabtree, Associate Professor of Practice at Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy. Thank you for your thoughts this evening.